Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We have 80 more questions today, so let's get started. 1. Jesus' disciples were able to heal the epileptic boy. False. Matthew 17:15-16. Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely, for he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. 2. Jesus restrained his disciples from telling people he was the Christ. True. Matthew 16:20. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. 3. There are principalities and powers in the heavenly realms. True. Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. 4. The Pharisees and Sadducees teased Jesus to show them a sign from heaven. True. Matthew 16:1. Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came and testing him asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. 5. Jesus' disciples ate with dirty hands. True. Matthew 15:2. Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, for they do not wash their hands when they eat bread? 6. Herod was happy when he killed John. False. Matthew 14:9. And the king Herod was sorry. Nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her. 7. Jesus taught that it is okay to swear. False. Matthew 5:34. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. 8. The centurion with a sick servant gladly welcomed Jesus into his home. False. Matthew 8:8. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. 9. The path that leads to distractions is narrow. False. Matthew 7:13. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. 10. The disciples of Jesus asked him to teach them how to pray. True. Luke 11:1. Now it came to pass as he was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, that one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray, as John also taught his disciples. 11. Jeremiah's father was a priest. True. Jeremiah 1:1. The words of Jeremiah the son of Hilkiah, of the priests who were in Anathoth in the land of Benjamin. 12. Animals with blemishes were offered as burnt offerings. False. Leviticus 3:6. If his offering is a sacrifice of a peace offering to the Lord is of the flock, whether male or female, he shall offer it without blemish. 13. The priest ate part of the burnt offerings. True, Leviticus 6:26, the priest who offers it for sin shall eat it. In a holy place it shall be eaten in the court of the tabernacle of meeting. 14. Grain offering could be offered with leaven. False. Leviticus 2:11, no grain offering which you bring to the Lord shall be made with leaven, for you shall burn no leaven nor any honey in any offering to the Lord made by fire. 15. Samson's mother was barren. True. Judges 13:2. Now there was a certain man from Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had no children. 16. Jesus taught that those who are first will retain their first position. False. Matthew 19:30. But many who are first will be last, and the last first. 17. Eli's sons used to sleep with the women who come at the door of the tabernacle. True. 1 Samuel 2:22. Now Eli was very old, and he heard everything his sons did to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. 18. The Ethiopian eunuch was reading the law of Moses. False. Acts 8:27-28. A man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, the queen of the Ethiopians, had come to Jerusalem to worship, was returning and sitting in his chariot. He was reading Isaiah the prophet. 19. Paul preached to the Ethiopian eunuch and baptized him. False. Acts 8:36. Now as they went down the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, See, here's water. What hinders me from being baptized? Then Philip said, If you believe with all your heart, you may. 20. Cornelius was a centurion in the Italian regiment. True. Acts 10:1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of what was called the Italian regiment. 21. What did Jesus say was the reason the disciples couldn't cure the epileptic boy? Lack of power, faith, grace, or knowledge? Lack of faith. Matthew 17:20. So Jesus said to them, Because of your unbelief, for assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there. 22. Which disciples asked Jesus how often one should forgive? Peter, James, John, or Thomas? Peter. Matthew 18:21. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? 23. How much did the unforgiving servant owe his master? 1,000 talents, 15,000 talents, 5,000 talents, or 10,000 talents? $10,000 talents. Matthew 18:24-25. One was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents, but as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold, with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made. 24. How much did the debtor of the unforgiving servant owe him? 1,000 denarii, 500, 100, or 10,000? 100 denarii. Matthew 18:28. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, "Pay me what you owe." 25. What did the unforgiving servant do to his debtor? Took all his possessions, threw him into prison, auctioned him, or forgave him? Threw him into prison. Matthew 18:29-30. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, "Have patience with me, and I will pay you all." And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. 26. What did the master do to the unforgiving servant after he learned of his wickedness? Delivered him to the torturers, forgave him again, locked him in jail, or auctioned him with all his property? Delivered him to the torturers. Matthew 18:34. And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. 27. Who or what joins a married couple together? Priest, law, God, or their love? God. Matthew 19:6. So then they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let no man separate. 28. What category of eunuchs did Jesus mention existed? Born eunuchs, made eunuchs, self-made eunuchs, or all of the above? All of the above. Matthew 19:12. For there are eunuchs who are born thus from their mother's womb, and there are eunuchs who are made eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. 29. Why were the little children brought to Jesus? That they may see a miracle, put his hands on them and pray, he may carry them or he may heal them. Put his hands on them and pray. Matthew 19:13. Then little children were brought to him that he might put his hands on them and pray, but the disciples rebuked them. 30. What did Jesus say belonged to the little children? Temple, blessings of God, kingdom of heaven, or mercy and love of God? Kingdom of heaven. Matthew 19:14. But Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." 31. To whom did Jesus say it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle? Rich young ruler, disciples, Pharisees, or John's disciples? The rich young ruler. Matthew 19:22-23. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Assuredly I say to you that it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." 32. What did Jesus say those who want to be great should first do? Gain wisdom, teach others, lead others, or be servants? Be servants. Matthew 20:26. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whosoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. 33. What did the mother of Zebedee's sons request Jesus to do for her sons? Special blessing for her sons, positions for her sons in God's kingdom, a portion of Jesus' miraculous power, or riches and wealth for her sons? Positions for her sons in God's kingdom. Matthew 20:21. And he said to her, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "Grant that these two sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left in your kingdom." 34. In the parable of the workers in the vineyard, how much did the master pay each worker? 5 denarii, 10 denarii, 1 denarius, or 2 denarii? 1 denarius. Matthew 20:10-11. But when the first came, they supposed that they would receive more. That they likewise received each a denarius. And when they had received it, they complained against the landowner. 35. What did Jesus say those who left all and followed him would receive? Special position in heaven, honor and respect, power to perform miracles, or 100-fold and eternal life? A 100-fold and eternal life. Matthew 19:29. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and inherit eternal life. 36. How did the disciples react to the request the mother of Zebedee's sons made? They were pleased, they were impressed, greatly displeased, or they were indifferent. They were greatly displeased. Matthew 20:23-24. So he said to them, But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared by my Father. And when the 10 heard it, they were greatly displeased with the 2 brothers. 37. From where did Jesus instruct his disciples to get the donkey he rode to Jerusalem? From a village opposite them, from the marketplace, from the temple, or from a distant town? From a village opposite them. Matthew 21:2, saying to them, Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. 38. When did the multitude sing to Jesus, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord? During his baptism, during his entry into Jerusalem, during his birth, or during his death? During his entry into Jerusalem. Matthew 21:8-9. And a very great multitude spread their clothes on the road. Others cut branches and spread them on the road. Then the multitudes followed, cried out, saying, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. 39. My house is for prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves. Which prophet was Jesus quoting? Isaiah, David, Jeremiah, or Amos? Isaiah 56:7. Even them I will bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar, for my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. 40. What other name was given to Solomon? Abijah, Jedediah, Eliakim, or Nathan? Jedediah. 2 Samuel 12:24-25. Then David comforted Bathsheba his wife. She bore a son, and he called his name Solomon. Now the Lord loved him, and he sent word by the hand of Nathan the prophet. So he called his name Jedediah because of the Lord. 41. What was Bathsheba's reaction when she heard of Uriah's death? She mourned, rejoiced, fled, or remained silent? She mourned. 2 Samuel 11:26. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, she mourned for her husband. 42. Who shaved David's servants and tore their clothes, exposing their buttocks? The Philistines, the Moabites, Ammonites, or Edomites? Ammonites. 2 Samuel 10:3-4. And David's servants came into the land of the people of Ammon. Therefore Hanun took David's servants, shaved off half of their beards, cut off their garments in the middle at their buttocks, and sent them away. 43. How long did David rule in Hebron over the house of Judah? 6 years and 6 months, 12 years and 6 months, 33 years and 6 months, or 7 years and 6 months? 7 years and 6 months. 2 Samuel 2:11. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. 44. Who buried Saul the first time? His grandson Mephibosheth, his family and brothers, the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, or David's household? The inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead. 1 Samuel 31:11-13. Now when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, then they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree at Jabesh and fasted 7 days. 45. Where were the skins of the sacrificed animals taken to? Burned outside the camp, given to the attending priest, buried in the temple, or sold in the marketplace? Given to the attending priest. Leviticus 7:8. And the priest who offers anyone burnt offering, that priest shall have for himself the skin of the burnt offering which he has offered. 46. What were the contents of the grain offering? Frankincense, fine flour, oil, or all of the above? All of the above. Leviticus 2:1. When anyone offers a grain offering to the Lord, his offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil on it and put frankincense on it. 47. Which king was struck by leprosy for burning incense illegally? Asa, Uzziah, Josiah, or Joash? Uzziah. 2 Chronicles 26:19. Then Uzziah became furious, and he had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was angry with the priest, leprosy broke out on his forehead before the priest in the house of the Lord beside the incense altar. 48. Which among these kings repaired the temple? Joab, Manasseh, Ahab, or Joash? Joash. 2 Chronicles 24:4. Now it happened after this that Joash set his heart on repairing the house of the Lord. 49. Why did Jesus curse the fig tree? It was diseased, had no fruit, was on his way, or was old? It had no fruit. Matthew 21:19. And seeing a fig tree by the road, he came to it and found nothing on it but leaves, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you ever again. Immediately the fig tree withered away. 50. In the testing question of the Sadducees about the resurrection, how many brothers died? 7, 5, 6, or 3? 7. Matthew 22:25-26. Now there were with us 7 brothers. The first died after he had married, and having no offspring, left his wife to his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third, even to the 7th. 51. According to the Bible, can angels marry? Yes, no, sometimes, or it's not mentioned. No. Matthew 22:30. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels of God in heaven. 52. Fill in the blank. Blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel, fly, frog, or snake. Camel. Matthew 23:24. Blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. 53. Why did Jesus say the love of many will grow cold in the last days? Because of a bad economy, because of lawlessness, selfishness, or lack of faith? Because of lawlessness. Matthew 24:12, and because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. 54. Which prophet did Jesus say spoke about the abomination of desolation? Isaiah, Hosea, Zechariah, or Daniel? Daniel, Matthew 24:15. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. 55. Which is not among the heavenly signs Jesus said will happen when the Son of Man comes? The sun will be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, or horses will appear in the sky. Horses will appear in the sky. Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the power of the heavens will be shaken. 56. Who did Jesus say knows the day and hour of the Son of Man to come? Angels, Son, Father, or all of the above? The Father. Matthew 24:36. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. 57. What example did Jesus give to illustrate his coming being like the days of Noah? 2 women grinding at the mill? 2 people sleeping on a bed? People building and painting? Or 2 people getting married? Two women grinding at the mill. Matthew 24:40-41. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. 58. What will the master do to the unfaithful servant who beats his fellows and is a drunkard? Forgive him, imprison him, reprimand him, or cut him in two? Cut him in two. Matthew 24:50-51. The master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and at an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him in two and appoint him in his portion with the hypocrites. 59. What does the parable of the 10 virgins talk about? Kingdom of heaven, marriage in heaven, persistence in prayer, or judgment day? Kingdom of heaven. Matthew 25:1. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 60. What did the 5 foolish virgins do to be considered fools? Forgot their lamps, fell asleep, they took no oil with them, or all of the above? They took no oil with them. Matthew 25:3-4. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. 61. Where did the wise virgins advise the foolish ones to get oil from? Those who sell. Matthew 25:9. But the wise answered, saying, No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. 62. What criteria did the master use to distribute talents to the servants in the parable? According to their ability. Matthew 25:15. And to the one who gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. 63. How did the servant who received 1 talent handle his talent? Hid it in the ground. Matthew 25:18. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. 64. During which occasion did Jesus pray earnestly until his sweat became beads of blood? The prayer in Gethsemane. Matthew 26:36-39. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray over there." And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood. 65. During his arrest, how many legions of angels did Jesus say he could call down if he wanted? 12 legions. Matthew 26:53. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? 66. What significant occurrence happened in Gilgal, causing it to be named so? Circumcision of the Israelites. Joshua 5:8-9. So it was, when they had finished circumcising all the people, that they stayed in their places in the camp till they were healed. Therefore the name of the place is called Gilgal to this day. 67. Who put the crown of thorns on Jesus' head? Soldier. Matthew 27:27. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. When they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head. 68. What was the color of the robe the soldiers put on Jesus? Scarlet. Matthew 27:27. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. When they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head. 69. What did Deborah and Barak do to celebrate their victory? Sang a song. Judges 5:1-2. Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang on that day, saying, When leaders lead in Israel, when the people willingly offer themselves, bless the Lord. 70. Where was Gideon threshing wheat to hide it from the Midianites? In a winepress. Judges 6:11. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. 71. How did the angel address Gideon when he appeared to him? The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. 72. For how long were the Israelites oppressed by the Midianites before Gideon delivered them? "7 years. Judges 6:1. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, so the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. 73. What dream did the Midianite man dream about Gideon? A loaf of bread falling into the camp. Judges 7:13. And when Gideon had come, there was a man telling a dream to his companion. He said, I have had a dream. To my surprise, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian. It came to a tent and struck it. 74. How long did Jephthah judge Israel? "6 years. Judges 12:7. And Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in among the cities of Gilead, Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. 75. Who succeeded Solomon? Rehoboam, 2 Chronicles 9:31. Then Solomon rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son reigned in his place. 76. What did Jesus say is the greatest and first commandment? Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Matthew 22:37-38. Jesus said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. 77. Who asked Jesus about what the greatest commandment is? A lawyer. Matthew 22:35-36. Then one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him and saying, Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? 78. What did Jesus teach about marriage after the resurrection? They will not marry, but will be like angels. Matthew 22:30. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels of God in heaven. 79. Who was Lot's father? Haran. Genesis 11:27. This is the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. 80. What does 1 John say we do if we say we have no sin? We deceive ourselves. 1 John 1:8. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. And that's all our questions for today. So remember, put your score down below to tell us how you did, and share this video with your friends and family, and then we'll see you guys in the next one.